in South Louisiana. Anyone who's got allergies, take this.
NAD is probably the biggest thing coming out right now on anti-aging. Normally, like when we're tight in here and you start getting that pressure and you're taking those joints and muscles through full range, this one feels almost addicting.
So consistency over intensity. And then we're just going to roll up and down. It seems crazy, but when you go get massages and they're finding tightness in here, the first thing you need to do is start releasing this stuff. Kelly, thank you. You did the exercises last week and it helped a lot.
Good day, my friends. Welcome to April's edition of Tea with Dr. D. I hope y'all are doing great. Happy Tuesday. Happy April 28th. We are almost to May. This year's flying by. I don't know about y'all, but my brain is like, once summer hits, I feel like it's a slippery slope to just like getting into the holidays. And like, once we get through July, I'd like feel like I blink and it's the end of the year. So welcome to Tea with Dr. D. I am drinking Japanese green tea at the moment. Kind of a very light evening drink, very, very lowly caffeinated. And I do that while I answer your best questions, favorite questions, whatever you got. If you have had health questions about pain, healing, peptides, supplements, whatever jumps into your mind when it comes to health, healing. We talk a lot about supplements and longevity on here, but this is my time just to kind of come on and answer whatever we can for you. So drop me a line, say hi, whatever questions you got, I'm here for it. Also, if you're new to this whole kind of world, I did want to mention, and we'll throw a link in this. You can text me. We'll put the number up so that you can send a text. Those come directly to me. You can sign up for that. I send updates out basically whenever we're doing kind of Q&As and answer any questions. It's a direct conversation. The other thing is, if you want to get kind of good updated information on research, on thoughts, on philosophy, on healing. On Sundays, I break down like my conversations for the week and I send that out in my Sunday Thoughts email. If you want to sign up for that, we're going to drop a link in the comments on this because that is probably the number one thing that I get feedback on is the value that comes out of that. So sign up for that. Let us know. I hope it gives you some value. It's just kind of quick little points from my conversations over the week. And we're kind of talking about thoughts and research and, new things that have come up that I've had conversations with patients. So let's get into it. What questions do y'all have? I know we had some that were either sent in, emailed in, text in, and we'll dive into some of those things. But let me know what you got. Hey, Jean. So I'm going to read this out for y'all. And I know that's kind of covering me because that is a large one, but that's all right. Dr. Hines, good video. I'm a 71-year-old male with persistent AFib, no symptoms other than mild sleep apnea and low dose Eliquis, proactive about taking care of my health, exercise, diet, stress, minimal added sugar, sleep, VO2 max is around 33. Good. Cardioversion lasted only a couple of days. Ablation considered, but not done. Okay. Still having some AFib symptoms, cardiologist, and I agree. Okay, let's unpack this. We can kind of dive into kind of the way that I would think through this, John. So let's go with the big picture stuff first. So regular exercise, it's like you've checked a lot of boxes already with this, right? regular exercise. You have a good VO2 max for your age. Your VO2 max at 33, quite good. I would wonder, are we doing a lot of zone 2? Are we getting to some zone 5 and 6 or zone 5 training? Nutrition, low added sugar, quite good. Something that we would want to dive into. Sleep with known mild sleep apnea is something that I would want to know is what are your sleep scores? And then stress. What's stress look like? So the way I would think through some of this is like, how do we reduce the triggers to improve the environment, the way that your kind of heart is operating in? So that would be my big thing is like, if we are dealing with sleep apnea, that can increase AFib, that can increase the AFib burden, that can increase sympathetic nervous system, that can increase atrial issues over time for sure. So if we're looking at some of that stuff, how do we manage your sleep apnea? And I would, even if you think it's mild, I would dive fairly deep in that. That would be my lead domino on this, is can we start to get sleep apnea under control? If you have not done like a sleep test with looking at sleep using a CPAP, that can reduce AFib occurrence and progression for sure. So make sure that you're actively attacking the sleep apnea. There's a bunch of neat things now in terms of like devices and implants that we can use for some of those things. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't talk about or think about is if they're dealing with AFib is the electrolyte and cell stability, the signaling that happens. So this is looking at magnesium, potassium, hydration, sodium, and calcium. I would want to know all of these things. Is can we look at the bulk of these so that we are having a good kind of balance of, am I balancing the electrolyte function? So get a test. Let's find out what is your magnesium levels, what is your potassium levels, what is your sodium and calcium levels. Getting those, especially magnesium, I would want to know very highly. Getting those into good balance can give good electrical stability to the heart. So it's definitely worth looking at and getting some tests run on it. The other thing I would want to look at is probably inflammation. Can we like take a look? Are we getting low grade inflammation? Is there any, CRP, HSCRP would be the test that we're looking at. Are we dealing with any of that? That would be a leading kind of view that we would want to take a look at. And then we can make some decisions based on that. Do we need to add some things like omega-3, vitamin D? So if we would work through this, I would say get a sleep apnea test. Let's start to find out where we're at with that. Let's get a micronutrient test that tells us our levels of vitamin D, that tells us our micronutrient, magnesium, potassium, calcium. Once you have some of those things, I think then you can make some decisions. Do I need to improve inflammation? Do I need to improve micronutrient balance with any of those things? Are there some things I can do for sleep apnea? So that would be how I would work through this in short order, kind of off the top of my head. What else would we look at? I mean, then you start to go into treatment, but it would be almost based on those things. Like I would consider, if you're not doing zone 5, I would tell you like pull off a few of your zone 2. If all you're doing is like biking and running, pull off and add in some higher level, low dose, high intensity training. I would consider sauna for sure. Make sure that your micronutrients are in good balance because you're going to sweat, and we need to make sure that we're keeping those up. You can wear one of those Gatorade patches to tell you what you're losing in your sauna session so you can replenish it really well. Dial in sleep to a very high degree. get sleep apnea in a great position, get electrical stability and micronutrient balance in a good position, reduce inflammation, and then get training there. You're doing a lot of stuff right. I don't want to add a whole lot to it. I just would say that if you are still dealing with some AFib, this is how I would work through some of that stuff. That's how I would go about attacking that. You're right there. I mean, you're doing awesome on a lot of these. You and your cardiologist have already kind of made some really good decisions on this. So now it's just, can we support the systems around it? So hope that helps kind of unpacking that. There's probably, a little bit of legwork in terms of testing that you would want to do to really get to the bottom of some of those answers. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any follow-ups. I'd love to do some deep dives on it. Good stuff, John. Hey, Sarah, thank you for the question. Dr. D, I've been seeing a lot about allulose lately. Me too. I've been talking about it for like years now. Is it actually better than, what did that say, regular sugar for blood sugar and weight loss, or is it just another trend? Allulose is a fun one. I just stay tuned. If you subscribe to the Pain and Performance podcast, I have a little daily episode coming out on allulose. That'll probably be a good adjunct to this. But if we're looking at allulose is considered a rare sugar. It's not technically a sugar alternative, FYI. But allulose is very interesting because allulose does not spike your blood sugar the way other things do. Certainly like sugar. It actually can lower your post-meal glucose and improve your insulin response. So like if you have allulose in a meal and you eat a carbohydrate-rich meal, you'll actually get a slightly blunted post-meal glucose spike. So that is really powerful. If we are having like a cheat meal, and this is where I think allulose can become like a superpower, is like on your off day, if you want to have a couple of little like cheat meals or have a cookie or whatever, if you put some allulose in there, it's gonna kind of keep a more stable blood sugar, is what the research tells us. The other fun thing about allulose is it seems to stimulate the same GLP-1 pathway that Ozempic and all of these kind of GLP-1 agonists do. Obviously not to the same level, but very, very helpful. I don't think it's a kind of magic fix all, but I think if we can get the double swing where we're pulling sugar out of some of our things and we're dropping allulose into some of our meals, that swing can be very, very powerful. That can be a big help in terms of keeping blood sugar stable, keeping insulin response up, making sure that we're continuing to stimulate GLP-1 pathways, and we're not getting stuck in this glucose craving cycle. So if you have done GLP-1s and you're coming off and you've heard of all these people who gain weight, I think using allulose as a sugar, alternative is a very, very helpful thing. The research on it kind of is getting very interesting, where how much does it stimulate the GLP-1 pathway? I'm very interested in that. I think it's potential that it could start to be something that we almost want to use like supplementally in people who their main drive is to reduce calorie intake and to lose weight. So I like it. I think it improves how your body handles sugar, and I don't think it's a fad. I've been using allulose for, I don't know, somewhere along the lines of like 4 years, and it's really starting to kind of grow, and the studies continue to improve. So I hope that helps. I would say swap as much as you can, swap sugar. To me, it takes like a week for you to kind of get there, but it doesn't have that really strong aftertaste. So that like aspartame does and all that stuff. I don't like that aftertaste of a lot of the like artificial sugars. That's not what allulose is to me, but it is quite helpful. So good question. I like seeing those things where it's kind of, we're trading a bad thing for a potentially good thing. So, all right. Mark, I remember us talking about this actually. I heard something about urolithin A, that it's supposed to help with aging and muscle health. Can I get it naturally? You potentially. potentially is the answer. There's always like naturally, like, is eating like 100 pomegranates natural? So urolithin A is found in pomegranates for those of you who are joining us. Yeah, I would say for a lot of that, you could get it naturally. What does urolithin A do? Urolithin A supports mitochondria. So if y'all have been listening to this, mitochondria health is how your body produces energy. Y'all remember from like 8th grade science that that is where your body, the powerhouse of the cell, right? But in our body, this is how we keep everything functioning really well. So if we're looking at something like urolithin A, it supports mitochondria, which when we look at people who age really, really well, their mitochondria continue to function great. So I think doing everything we can to keep our mitochondria healthy is very, very important. So if our mitochondria are working well and we're producing good energy, now we have better muscle endurance, and there is good studies on that. Like if you are looking at training, it will boost your VO2 max in the short term. So adding that in there, if you're playing around with running marathons or you're doing endurance training, urolithin A would be a good thing for you to play with. You definitely recover faster because you have more cellular energy to process tissue damage, inflammation, any of that stuff. The things that we don't quite know about is it looks like it slows aging at the cell level. Whether it does that or not, I don't know if it matters, but if our cells can produce great energy, then everything downstream from that's going to be better. They're going to repair better. They're going to function better longer into our life. So I'm very intrigued by urolithin A. That will be something that y'all will hear me probably talking about because I'm keeping a very close eye on it. I find that this falls into your like kind of functional health and optimization. This doesn't take the place of like health foundations, if you will. So it's a little further down the chain. But if you're like, I'm exercising, I'm eating well, I'm sleeping well, and I want to get to this kind of optimization of health and function, urolithin A is something from a mitochondrial health perspective that I think we should all be paying attention to. So the studies on it continue to be quite intriguing. So I say keep an eye on it. If you're training an endurance athlete and you've already done a bunch of stuff and you want to try some things for mitochondrial health, use urolithin A. Good studies on it being safe. So we know that that's the case. And you're going to see some good improvements in endurance and mitochondrial function. So hope that helps. My favorite ways to reduce inflammation. Number one would be, hey, Heather, how are you? Number one would be prolonged fasting. I've seen few things truly change cellular inflammation and systemic inflammation than prolonged fasting. So like HSCRP, I've seen drop dramatically. Like tissue inflammation, I've seen drop dramatically. Y'all have heard me talk about this. And Heather, I think me and you talked about this, like using some version of a fasting mimicking protocol, whether that's doing like a Prolon or your own thing where it's like we're going into very low calories, around 700 calories a day. Dr. Longo's work is awesome on that, where it's showing that if we get there, we reduce inflammation dramatically. And when we come out of it, we produce a bunch of stem cells to help replace the cells that we got rid of and ate, so to speak. So that would probably be number one. Number two would most likely be avoiding sugar. When I have patients who reduce sugar, I'm interested to see someone switch sugar for allulose very completely. How much that would change inflammation. But when people go on like a sugar detox, the amount of inflammation that comes off their body is crazy. They feel so much better. So that's another one. And then I'm partial to whole body cryotherapy, and that's not like full disclosure. We have that here. That's not why. I think it checks so many boxes in one fell swoop that it's hard to beat. It's like you're going to get systemic inflammation down. You're going to increase cell and immune function. So like even inflammation that comes later, we've helped. We're going to increase brown adipose tissue function. You're increasing these cold shock proteins. So it's like you're getting this reduction in inflammation, but you're turning all the systems on for health and resilience. And so that would be my list of 3. Once you're doing some of those, then we can talk about supplements and all that stuff. But I don't think there's a supplement that really changes inflammation the way that those 3 do. I don't think that there's one that's that effective. But once you're doing those things to really dial in inflammation, then we can start looking at omega-3s, vitamin D. Then we can start looking at curcumin, some of those that really kind of move the needle, and certainly systemically, KPV as a peptide is quite powerful to reduce systemic inflammation. But those would be my 3 starting points. Good question. Great. I know a lot of people are dealing with some of that stuff. So thank you for asking. Linda, I'm trying to focus more on longevity, not just avoiding disease. Okay. If I had to simplify it, what's the most important things for longevity? Well, okay. I like this question, but I think a lot of people skip to focus on longevity. So they start looking at longevity and they're starting to do all that, but they haven't taken care of their health foundations first. So before we do this, I call this the hierarchy of health. This is something that y'all will hear much more about in the near future. But before you pay attention to longevity, make sure your foundations are good. Are you sleeping 7 to 8 hours? Are you getting movement every day, 7,000 plus steps a day? Are you eating mostly whole foods? Is your diet mostly quality things? Are you managing stress pretty well? If you haven't done those things, then build that stuff first. And then don't even worry, like the longevity part will take care of itself later. Once you're doing that, then we want to build function and resilience. So then we make sure we're worrying about strength. Y'all have heard me talk. Strength is so important for longevity. Cardio. That's probably the biggest predictor we have on lifespan is your VO2 max. Make sure you have mobility so you don't get injured, and that derails the whole system if you fall apart before you can get there. And then we start to kind of get optimization in. So that's really targeted testing that lead to certain supplements or peptides, treatments, advanced therapies that are specific to you and your gene history and your current testing of your body and the systems that function well. Once you are doing those things, I think most of longevity will kind of take care of itself. But now you've earned the right to say, now I'm going to really do some aggressive longevity stuff. And now that starts to kind of get a little bit crazy. Longevity starts to kind of, now we're looking at gene-based therapies. We're looking at stem cells. Mini circle gene editing sounds really fascinating to me. So that's what I would do if you were starting to, focus on longevity. Go back to the basics. Are my foundations good? Do I have good function in all the systems in my body? And then can I optimize all of that stuff to me and then get on any of the extra stuff that you need for longevity? And that might be supplements, that might be treatments, any of those things. If you skip those 3 steps and you're doing a bunch of these longevity things, you're going to be, stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, as they say. So I see it all the time. And I think you're just way better served for health and how you feel tomorrow and in the near future by going back through the kind of hierarchy of health. And longevity is way at the top. We've got to build foundations. We've got to build function. We've got to build resilience and optimization. And then we worry about longevity. So, and guess what? Once you get there, it usually kind of takes care of itself if you're doing all the rungs underneath it right. So I hope that helps, Linda. And I hope to hear if you're reaching out in 40 years, that worked really well for you. No. Hey, Jason, how are you, my man? Thanks for the question. I remember you sending it in. I've heard about mag therapy. Yeah. Or HiFem, building muscle and recovery. Does it actually work? So if you're new to this, HiFem or MAG, we call it MAG in our office, muscle activation and growth. is a magnet system that causes what we consider supramaximal muscle contractions. And in like a 30-minute session, you'll get thousands of these supramaximal muscle contractions. So it turns the muscle on harder than you could do it yourself. And when that happens, we see muscle growth. This is the exciting part of this, is like this came out of pelvic floor therapy, where we have a chair that you sit on, and there's a giant magnet that turns on all your pelvic floor muscles. So many women and men have weak pelvic floor muscles, and it's a hard area to strengthen. So we had to figure out a way to do that. You use these specialized magnets to turn those muscles on so hard that your body gets the signal to start growing those muscles. And we've seen in 2 months, in weakened states, we've seen muscles double their strength, double the strength, double the thickness in a 2-month period of time. That's wild. But it's not a replacement for exercise. The reason we like it is like in those areas where muscles are really hard to strengthen. So like after an injury, after a surgery where we can't move that area a ton and cause inflammation, MAG or HiFem technology can stimulate that muscle growth while we're keeping, like, let's say the joint that you had replaced in a really good position, and we're not causing excess inflammation in it. My other area that I'm really excited, and you will see us start to put research out on this because I'm so excited, is in muscle imbalances. So like take scoliosis, for example. We know in scoliosis cases that we have very weak muscles and a very tight muscle. And then oftentimes, depends on the curve, a very weak muscle and a very tight muscle. So it's hard to activate those weak spots in the body. So we can use MAG to create corrections for these imbalances when it's really hard for you to come up with moves that only target those muscles. We can put them right on it and start to create balance across the spine in a scoliosis case or a shoulder injury case, whatever it might be. Those are the areas that I am crazy excited about. Recovery, to get muscles firing again after nerve injuries or joint injuries, and then to correct imbalances in the body. And then it's just a bridge to you training. This isn't like, hey, this will take over. You never have to train. You come and sit in the chair and it does the work for you. I think it's a bridge to really get people in and find those really tough to train spots. The neck is one of those. After whiplash injury, our neck muscles get really weak. How do you strengthen your neck muscles without bothering all the nerves and stuff? This is a great way. We put the MAG on it. Those muscles turn on and off and start to grow over time. And now we've gotten to the point where we feel really good. So it is a really good thing. Pull the studies on it. The studies are amazing. A lot of the studies are done on pelvic floor and abdominal training, but I'm very impressed with what we have seen in the clinic so far. So great question. Very fun technology for us to start seeing some very powerful changes on. I'm excited for it. Ashley, how are you? There's so much talk about peptides. You are right. And there's a lot of chaos out there on this. Right now for healing and recovery, how do they actually work? Good question. How do I know if they're right for me? So what are peptides? Let's start with that real quick. I'm going to give you all a very quick overview. Peptides are signaling molecules. They come in and they tell your body to do things that it already deep inside has the capability to do, but it wouldn't do them without a signal that turns that process back on. So take healing, for example. Your body can certainly heal, but there are times where that healing signal gets lost because the environment we're in, the trauma that happened around a chronic injury, whatever it might be, our body didn't heal. Some of these peptides come in and they turn that healing signal back on and your cells go back to work. Very, very powerful. They enhance the natural processes. They don't replace it. That's very important because then it becomes like they're not magic, and you need to make sure, this goes back to the Linda's longevity question. You need to make sure that you give your body the ability to respond to these things. So continuing to work on your foundations is very, very helpful whenever we're dealing with peptides. So that would be like, make sure you're still sleeping well, because if you're not, they're not going to work as well. Make sure you're eating well, because if you're not, you don't have the cell material. If you tell your body to build new tissue, it doesn't have the building material to actually go in and build the tissue. So that's how they work. Obviously, there's some that work really well. Like, you've probably heard of BPC 157 because it's gotten talked about so much. It does a very good job of reducing tissue inflammation. We see that in joints, tendons, muscles, even nerves. TB500 and BPC are really good friends. TB500 does a lot for healing and repairing, regrowing healthy tissue. Same thing, tendons, muscles, ligaments. TB500 works really well. If you've heard of the Wolverine stack, those two together reduce inflammation and increase tissue repair. Very good in a lot of cases. One of my favorite ones that people aren't talking about very much is a peptide called GHK copper. You see this in a lot of skin treatments, but when you do it systemically, it increases collagen formation and native-like collagen formation. So like non-scar tissue related, flexible, healthy tissue, that if we have like scar tissue or we're post-surgery or we need to repair a lot of soft tissue, I think GHK copper is probably more powerful than BPC and TB500 if we need to repair and regrow a lot of like collagen-based tissue, a lot of soft tissue. And then another one that we see really good improvements is a lot of the brain peptides. So you have Cmax that increases brain protection, dihexa, and P21. And those basically protect the brain, help regrow synapses, and improve like brain function. And so those are formulated together in one stack, in one like kind of super brain peptide stack. I'm really excited to see those get used with infrared or laser therapy for brain function and hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I think in brain cases, in early stage dementia or Alzheimer's cases, I think there's a lot of potential there, especially when we're stacking these things together. So peptides, they won't override like a broken system, but for stuff that your body has the capability deep inside to do, healing, repair, regrowth, function, clearance of inflammation, all these things that we know our body can do it, peptides can go in and supercharge that response if you get the right ones. I saw a big giant chain on Facebook the other day of like everybody, where you get your peptides from. And there's all these like million places. I'm like, you need the right peptide for what's going on with you. So like find a practitioner who works with peptides on a daily basis with their patients and like marries up their patient's goals with their issues, with their history. And that's how they prescribe the peptide. It's not just like, here's the cheapest one, let me go do it, because they can be very powerful if you pick the right one. This is not an area where I tell very many people like, oh, find one online, order it and use it. Just give it a shot. I think you're missing it with that. You're missing the major benefits that you could be getting if you really customized it to yourself. So that's my long elevator pitch on peptides. Hope that helps, Ashley. All right, let's do one more. Let's get one more in. Chase, I hope you're doing well, buddy. Why do some people seem to heal so much faster than others? This is a very fun question because I got asked this at a conference. And one of the things that I came up with after looking at a bunch of cases is I think initially part of it comes from mindset. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but I've seen so many people who have a good mental focus. They're not afraid of the injury. They're not afraid of the future with that injury. They know that they're going to keep moving forward and they're going to continue finding things that help them get better. They have a very positive outlook on it. And that changes systems inside your body whenever you can cultivate that. That changes it to a very high degree. So that's number one. I see it every day. There's research on it that shows it all the time. The second part is like, do we have good foundations of health inside? So do we have good blood flow? Do we have low inflammation? Are we sleeping well so my body can recover? Is my mitochondria functioning? And then am I getting proper nutrients or good nutrients in? Am I feeding the body really well? I think when we have a great mindset that puts us on a good pathway, and then those foundations are present, you're going to see these things continue to improve, but much faster. I mean, and like, look, we've seen patients who were very active and had those foundations with severe disc herniations, and within a month be back doing everything they wanted to do, exercising, lifting, riding bikes, doing all the things. And there's no restriction, and that disc just continues to heal and repair. So our body has crazy capabilities to do that if we check those boxes. So this is why, like, we're trying to build resilience in a lot of ways. And it comes from like, improve those foundations of health, make sure I'm functioning really well, and then make my body resilient so that when I have an injury or a problem, my body can like snap back from it and heal faster than it can than if I don't have those. And we see that in professional athletes, right? They've got their basic foundations checked. They've got their functional health working. And now they're building a lot of resilience in how they train, in how they eat, in things they take. And when they injure something, they injure a muscle, they injure a joint, they snap back, sometimes 2 or 3 times faster than us, lowly mortal, normal people. But that's why, is that they've got a great mindset. They've got really good drive. They've got really good foundations. They've got good blood flow, low inflammation. Their mitochondria function really well. They're feeding their body great nutrients. And so it repairs really well. So that would be it. Get good treatment, build those foundations, have a great mindset. This isn't luck. This is biology. We can press the gas pedal on healing if we have all of those things checked. So I hope that helps. I hope you don't need a ton of it. And I hope that gives you some direction of what you can do now, whether you have pain or not. You can start building that stuff now so that if you do have an issue, you can really overcome that much faster. So cheers, everybody. Thank y'all for joining me. I hope you have a great evening. I will see y'all in May. Right around the corner. We will do tea with Dr. D. Join me, get your tea ready, get any questions. You can shoot me a text in the meantime, 801-691-7582. Go straight to me. I'm the one that answers those. But I hope you can find one little way to build some health momentum today and just kind of get the ball rolling. Find something, drink some water in the morning, find an exercise, do little snack exercises all day. But every day you're just trying to build health momentum and keep it going. Get a little healthier every day. And once you get that going, you'll start to realize your momentum's going, you feel amazing, and your health is serving you for life. So I hope that helps. Y'all have a great evening, everybody.